and welcome to the Sylvania City Council meeting for February 3rd, 2025. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Hanson?
Here.
Mr. Hayden?
Here.
Mr. McCann?
Here.
Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Mr. Richardson?
Here.
Ms. Dow? Here. Mrs. Westfall?
Here.
All 7 members of City Council are in attendance, so we do have a quorum. I'd like to ask everybody to stand and for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There she is. Is that Kim?
So additions to the agenda, I have 2 items. I would like to add item 4D, resolution number 3, 2025, and ordinance number 26 is item number 14. Are there, Mrs. Westfall, any additions?
Nothing, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Members of council, any additions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I'd like to start a meeting for schedule for employee community relations.
So we'll call that 13A. Any other additions from members of council? Mr. Sanford,
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Chief Miller,
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Shaw,
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schroyer, Ms. Bryant.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Do I have a motion to approve the council agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much, and our modified or amended agenda is approved. Moving on to the proclamations this evening, obviously, first of all, welcome to everybody from our community. Thank you very much for coming this evening. With us in attendance this evening is Mayor Craig Stow, who served our community faithfully for 29 years as mayor. And we have a number of proclamations here this evening. The first one for the Ohio Attorney General's office. And they're not here to arrest you, Mayor.
I know, every time I approach somebody and introduce myself, I tend to get, oh, and then they start it backwards. It is my honor, on behalf of Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost, to present to you this proclamation after all the years of service that you have to the people of Sylvania. If you don't mind, I'll go ahead and read that, if you're okay.
Please.
Okay. A proclamation recognizing the retirement of Ohio Mayor Craig Stow. Whereas the Mayor Craig Stow joined Sylvania City Council in 1986, he became council president in 1984 and then mayor in 1996. And whereas Mayor Craig Stow serves on the boards of the Sylvania Community Improvement Corporation, the Sylvania Rotary Community Foundation, and the Sylvania Historical Village Commission, and whereas Mayor Stow led the foundation of the Sylvania Area Joint Recreation District, which includes Pacesetter Park, Tam O'Shanter, Ice Rink, and Centennial Terrace, and whereas Mayor Stow was instrumental in building the Sylvania Senior Center and has been a major force in the Sylvania area, or in the Sylvania Community Improvement Corporation, the lead economic development organization for the city of Sylvania and Sylvania Township. Therefore, as Attorney General of the state of Ohio, it is my honor to recognize and congratulate Mayor Craig Stow on his outstanding career in public service and his retirement. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So I have seen this area grow so much from the time when I was here, when there was just nothing here. It was like the sticks back then. And now to see downtowns, downtown Sylvania, it's one of my favorite downtowns. It's absolutely beautiful. No matter time of year. Christmas particularly, that was actually gorgeous, but it's just, It is a beautiful city, and you've done a wonderful job, and I'm very proud to say I'm from the area. So again, thank you very much for all of your service.
So we could have a picture taken with you, you could send back to us.
Oh, absolutely. I love that. And I'm gonna have one with my phone, too, if you don't mind.
Sir?
Thank you. Absolutely, you're so welcome.
Next up, for presentations, we have Sandy Spang, who's the Executive Director of TMACOG. Sandy.
Thank you so much, Mr. President and other members of council, for allowing me to come here tonight. I think you captured very well the impact that Mayor Stowe has had on the city of Sylvania. So I'm going to drop down here in the proclamation from the Toledo Metropolitan Area Council of Governments to the impact that you've had on our region. And I'm here tonight on behalf of the 84 governmental members across 6 counties and on behalf of our chair, Mayor Ed Schimmel from Northwood, to thank you for the work that you've done throughout our region, in addition to the impact that you've made on your own community. Whereas he has demonstrated exceptional commitment to regional collaboration as a long-serving representative for the city of Sylvania with the Toledo Metropolitan Area Council of Governments. Whereas Mr. Stowe has served as a member of TMACOG's Board of Trustees, Executive Committee, and Leadership Development Committee, and whereas he provided strong leadership and vision as the chair of TMACOG from 2016 to 2018, including representing the interests of Sylvania and the broader region during drinking water discussions. And whereas his dedication to public service and his contributions to the community have left a lasting impact on Sylvania and the region. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Edward L. Schimmel, Chair of the Toledo Metropolitan Area Council of Governments, do hereby acknowledge and commend Craig A. Stowe for his outstanding service to his community and the region, and offer best wishes for his retirement as the mayor of Sylvania. And I just want to add that it's a commitment and a sacrifice to be an elected official for your community, but it's so much more than to serve your region as well. And you have done that so faithfully and so well. And we are so grateful for the work that you've done. And you have left, like say, a lasting impact that will be noted for generations on your community, but especially when I think about the work that you've done to ensure that we have these regional water contracts for 40 years throughout, I mean, that's an important economic development driver. It's an important impact throughout our region. And so I personally am grateful, and I know that it's going to make a difference in our region for many, many years. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandy. I look forward to still participating as a part of your Leadership Development Committee at Mr. Mayor Schimmel's invitation.
Yes, he is. We're asking him to continue to serve. So, can we get some
Standing
pictures?
Mayor, yes, turn right here.
And it's wholly appropriate that my first proclamation will be for Mayor Stowe, because he did so many of these for so many years, for so many of our citizens. And this is going to be repetitive, but to some extent, but you've done so many things. whereas Mayor Stell joined Sylvania City Council in 1986, became council president in 1994, and became mayor in 1996, and he served for 29 years. And whereas he served as chair of the Toledo Metropolitan Area Council of Governments, or TMACOG, and president of the Northwest Ohio Mayors and Managers Association. And whereas Mayor Stell led the effort to form the Regional Water Commission to unify area communities' water contracts with the city of Toledo. And whereas under his leadership, the city experienced significant growth and has seen many transformative projects such as the Prometica Health and Wellness Center, SOMO, Inside the Five, the Wingate Hotel, and Madeline's Patisserie. And whereas under his leadership, the city has seen a multi-decade record of being fiscally responsible. And whereas under his leadership, the city was able to secure many millions of dollars, and I'm gonna, $61 million, as a matter of fact, in the last 15 years, Mayor. Millions of dollars in grants to help finance numerous capital projects that help maintain a high quality of life in Sylvania. Now therefore I, Mark R. Fry, Mayor, in honor of his 29 years of dedicated service to the city of Sylvania as mayor, do hereby proclaim the next 29 days, February 4th
Well, that's a
through
first.
March 3rd, 2025, as Craig A. Style Days in the city of Sylvania. Congratulations. Now, we have just one more thing that I added, which is a resolution, and I'm going to do it from down here. Ms. Stow, would you like to read the resolution, please?
It would be my honor, Mr. Mayor. I would like to introduce resolution number 3-2025 and read it by title. A resolution of the Council of the City of Sylvania changing the name of City Hall to Craig A. Stow Municipal Building. I move for passage of resolution number 3-2025 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to rename the City Hall the Craig A. Stow Municipal Building. Ms. Bigelow, this is very rare for us to do this, but I'd like a roll call vote.
Absolutely. Mr. Hanson.
Yes.
Mr. Hanem.
Yes.
Mr. McCann.
Yes.
Mr. Murphy.
Yes.
Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Ms. Stow.
Yes.
Mrs. Westfall.
Yes.
All 7 members of Sylvania City Council vote aye. Therefore, the resolution number 3, 2025 passes as an emergency measure. And from this day forward, the City Hall will be named the Craig A. Stow Municipal Building.
Thank you very much.
We thought it would be appropriate, being an architect for your entire career, that we would name the facility after you.
Gonna look great. I'm honored by that. I want to thank all of you for your kindness in remembering me and honoring me in these different ways. Sandy and Mr. Yost, and of course, Mayor Fry. It's wonderful to come back and be honored like that, but I can't tell you, I'm enjoying retirement. And the stress is coming down and off of me, and it does make a difference. So it seemed like it was time for a fresh look from the mayor's office, and I think it's working out very well. So thank you all, and my best as you continue to work to improve the Sylvania community, move it forward, and improve our quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, as you've said to thousands of people over the years, Mayor, you don't have to stay, but you're more than welcome to. Likewise, there you go. Enjoy the evening. And give our best to your lovely wife. So moving on in our agenda, and I haven't forgot you in the audience, we didn't specifically add you to that, but we'll give you an opportunity to speak here in a moment. The item number 5 on our agenda is approval of the council meeting minutes from January 21st, 2025. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move approval of the Sylvania City Council meeting minutes from the meeting held January 21st, 2025 as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from January 21st, 2025 as submitted. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Now, typically, in the agenda, we would just go on to the Mr. Shaw's section of the meeting, but there's a number of people here this evening. I suspect, I have a suspicion why some of you at least are here. I know Ms. Cheney wanted to speak briefly, I believe. So please come up and identify yourself for the record, although we all know who you are, and we're pretty much all know where you live as well, but still just for the record.
Thank you. Deb Cheney, 5736 Summit Street, Sylvania. I'm just here to represent some of the downtown residents of Sylvania. We know that there's going to be a lot of improvements of phase 1 with the main block of Sylvania. Our concern is a safety issue with removal of a stoplight at Main and Maplewood. So it's our understanding it's going to be a 4-way stop, removal of the stoplight and the pedestrian lights. So I could be wrong, but that was my understanding. And if that's so, we're concerned about a 4-way stop and the pedestrians trying to maneuver that, especially during the summertime when there's more kids out, for them just being down the street. We feel that it should be really reconsidered and not have that be removed. Also, I don't know, maybe you can help me verify that if it is removed, it can't be put back unless at the cost of the city. So I don't know whether that's just hearsay or whether that's a fact.
Well, to that, I think it's probably better to ask Mr. Shaw that answer to that question.
Sure. So anytime we review traffic signals, whether it's improvements or it's going away for a roundabout or it's just going to be a traffic signal and amplified or bigger, they all go through a process through ODOT, which are traffic signal warrants. And there's 8 of them for a traffic signal to meet in order to be a valid traffic control device in Ohio. At one point, that signal was warranted based on Main Street being a state highway. In the 70s is when that signal was in. A lot more truck traffic than there currently is now that goes through. But again, fast forward 40 years later, all 8 of those warrants were reviewed and that signal didn't meet it. So you can either do a couple of things. I can't improve it because there's no physical justification to do it. You make it into some other different type of traffic control device, which was the 4-way stop. And that's the one that we elected to move forward with.
So is there a criteria that if you're a certain amount of space between a railroad track and that 4-way stop, that there is an issue? That was one of the facts that was brought up to me.
It's not a valid concern with traffic signals. It's not a valid argument for traffic signals, no.
So when was the last study done that showed that that stoplight wasn't necessary?
Yeah, we of course looked at it with this project because it's a big component, right? I mean, you've got a signalized intersection. Is that going to stay? Does it need to go? Or what happens with it? The engineer consultant that was with the project recommended it. It just basically said it's not warranted. And that was when Service Department made the recommendation to have it removed.
But was there a study done recently to show that?
Yeah, they of course it was a part of their project, sure.
Like when was the study done and what time frame of the day was it done? Because like there's times that when I'm there, I just wait for the stoplight, but there's other times when there's actually a buildup because of the time of the day.
So they took traffic counts, and that was what was the basis for it. That's the initial go of it. You take a look at the initial traffic reviews and you run it through the warrants
Just to see if it's warranted. If it becomes close, then you do a full-blown traffic study.
It was not close.
But what time frame was that done?
So perhaps this, I want to be I want to be respectful of your time, but we have a full agenda as well.
Okay.
So what I would suggest is that if the group that your concerns and other individuals here have concerns, that you actually sit down and have a conversation with myself and Mr. Shaw directly.
Okay.
And trying to address some of those rather than doing that in this particular setting. Would that be acceptable to you?
I would appreciate that.
Okay.
Yep. It's only a safety concern, so that we look at things that can protect our families, that we always want to be a family-friendly
Absolutely.
community. And so that's why I bring it up.
Okay, and we appreciate your concern about that. Obviously, we're always open to have conversations. It's great to actually see people rather than just being anonymous and some email that goes out that we can't identify and we can't talk to these individuals. So we thank you all for coming. We'd love to have these conversations with you collectively. You know, obviously, that's important to us. You're our citizens and we want to hear from you.
And we live right downtown, so we really embrace the downtown area.
No,
Thank you for working with getting it to where it needs to be.
So what I would suggest, if you could reach out to Ms. Bigelow and we could sit down and maybe have a meeting, whether it's an evening meeting. Mr. Richardson, I don't know if it would be appropriate to maybe make it a streets committee meeting. What's your thought process on that?
I would be happy to.
Okay, that would be good.
Whatever your recommendation is.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
To Ms. Cheney, to the wider audience, are you all here to address that particular issue, or is that, or are there other things you wanted to?
Okay,
So when's our next streets committee meeting, Mr. Richardson?
There's a streets committee meeting before the first meeting.
March 3rd.
March 3rd, I want to say.
March 3rd at 7.
So is that,
That's, you know,
March 3rd.
for the roundabout discussion.
Right.
I don't know if that's. What are your thoughts? I could do it either way.
That roundabout meeting is at 7.
that's
Okay,
not enough
thanks.
time?
No, that's good too, sure.
So perhaps, unless council's opposed to it, maybe set one for, do we have something coming up, Ms. Bigelow, for the second meeting in February? Anything in front of the council meeting? Could we potentially set a streets committee meeting for that, prior to that meeting that? Yes,
Are we meeting on the 17th? That's President's Day.
18th, it would be
Meeting
18th.
on the 18th.
Okay. So with that,
that'll work.
So is that before the council meeting?
we would set it for, I
What
don't
do
know
you
what, I
think?
mean, that would be up to Mr. Richardson, what time to set it for, but I think I would assume an hour would be
That's-
sufficient. If it
that's what I
runs
was-
more than an hour, then we'll push back council.
Yeah, so we could set a streets committee meeting for 6:30 PM on Tuesday, February 18th, right here in council chambers.
Is that a motion?
I will make a motion to set the meeting as such.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to set a streets committee meeting for Tuesday, February 18th at 6:30 PM here in council chambers. You're all invited.
Looks like Bill has.
Mr. Mayor, just a question.
Yeah.
Deb, are you the representative of the group, or is there another representative that we don't know about?
I am here in response to myself because I live in the downtown area and I'm part of the Sylvania residents. So I don't know.
Bill, we have a motion on the floor. So we have a motion on the floor to set the streets committee meeting for 6:30 on February 18th in these council chambers prior to the council meeting. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Now, Bill, please.
Just want to get everybody that has a concern about this at the one meeting so we don't have multiple meetings.
I don't know who all will be here, so I can let you know. And they'll probably, I'll say, at this point in time, 10 to 15, and there might be just 10. But we live downtown, and so we're just concerned about it.
But thank you for coming, and we look forward to seeing all of you, or most of you, or more of you, in a couple of weeks. Pardon?
Careful what you wish for.
Well, that's okay. I mean, we're here to listen to you and to represent you.
Thank you.
So, Hi,
Come forward
I'm
and please
Irene
identify yourself.
I live at 6809 Maplewood, right next to the elementary school.
And for the record, ma'am, your name?
Irene Rose. And the only thing, maybe when, so that, because I wasn't necessarily a part of the group, I just saw the letter and blah, blah, blah. So, but for other people who might be interested in the city, when you post the meeting date on the website, can you maybe say that this is open, so that people who want to come and talk?
Yeah, all of our council and committee meetings are open to the public, and the subject matter will be listed in the notice. But certainly we can push that out there on the website and the social media and all that, no problem.
That just kind of helps quell any rumors,
No, understood. Thank
All
you
of our
very much.
meetings are open, so yes.
Thank you very
Everyone's
much.
welcome.
Before we move on to the rest of the agenda, was there anybody else that wanted to speak for this particular meeting, or is it okay? Are you comfortable waiting till the 18th in a couple of weeks? Great, thank you very much. And you're obviously welcome to stay the entire evening, but that's completely up to you. Moving on to agenda item number 6, Mr. Shaw, this is your section of the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, good evening. In front of you is a recommendation to award a bid to a resurfacing project that was recently bid out of the Service Department. This is for Silica Drive, Summit Street, and Erie Street. And as a reminder, the Erie Street piece is between Main and Summit. We advertised the project for construction. Our published engineer's estimate was $629,075. We received 6 bids, which is a little unusual for us for asphalt resurfacing. We usually get about 2 or 3 from pretty steady contractors, and so we had a larger plan holders list on here, which was great. The apparent low bidder was Henry W. Bergman. They're out of Genoa. They came in with a bid of $511,417. If you do the math, that's just under 19% under our estimate, which is good news. Second bid that we received was from Helms & Sons, who's doing a lot of work for us in the 2025 year. Their bid was $546,950, so 13% under the estimate. So we had very, very good numbers on this project. The last project that Henry W. Bergman did for us was on McCord Road. That was last year between Brent and Sylvania. Successful project. Don't have any problems moving forward with another recommendation for Henry W. Bergman. So it'd be our recommendation to award the contract to Henry W. Bergman in the amount of $511,417.
Mr. Shaw, why do you think we've received 6 bids on what is a relatively modest-sized project? Is it timing, or is it just economic conditions?
We switched our bidding platform from paper coming into the office and securing hard copy books to doing Bid Express, which is all online bidding. And I think it's just flat easier for contractors that want to come in and submit bids. And we've actually seen this pattern on a couple of other projects that are currently for sale. We're seeing our plan holders list expand, which is good news for us. More bidders, more competition.
That's great. Thank you. Questions from members of council? If not, we have ordinance number 16, 2025. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 16, 2025. I will read by title only. Accepting the bid of Henry W. Bergman, Inc. and awarding the contract for the Silica Drive, Summit Street, Erie Street resurfacing project to same, authorizing the expenditure for the improvements in the amount of $511,417, appropriating funds therefore, and I would move passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 16, 2025 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance number 16, 2025 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 7, Parks and Forestry, some equipment purchases. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've got 2 trucks to purchase here. There's a couple different ordinances in there for some different packages that go with it. I'll kind of explain them all in group, and we can read them individually as we go. Parks and Forestry Department had 2 vehicle replacements that were in the capital improvement budget for this year. One was to replace a 2005 Chevy Silverado that has 93,000 miles on it.
I would call this a general use work truck that's in the fleet. We've had it for well over 12 years. The idea would be to move the old vehicle to gov deals at an appropriate time when the new vehicle comes in. The replacement for that is going to be a 2025 Chevy Silverado 2500. This is a four-wheel drive truck that would be coming to us from Dave White Chevrolet. This particular piece of equipment is going to have an additional package installed on it, which is a liftgate package from Kaleida Truck Company, Kaleida Truck Equipment, and the lift package for that is $6,900. So the entire purchase price for this vehicle is $58,285. Second vehicle that's in the fleet we're looking to replace is an even older one. That's a 2002 Chevy Silverado. This one's a dump truck with 70,000 miles on it. Vehicle's 23 years old. One of our heavy-duty, Parks and Forestry doesn't have a whole lot of heavy-duty trucks in the fleet. This is one of them. It's used around in all seasons. We do snow and ice control. We do leaf, green yard waste with it, projects, whether we're carting trees around with a trailer, a lot of different things that we use with it. So what we would like to do is move that vehicle again to gov deals when the appropriate time comes in, the new vehicle comes in. But the replacement is again a 2025 Chevy Silverado instead of a 2500 or 3500. And that's the chassis that comes from Dave White. The purchase price for that is $45,428. This one has a more robust package with two packages added to it, including a dump package, as well as light bar and modified drop sides to the body that are recommended for how that vehicle is used. Those again would be from Kaleida Truck Equipment, and the lift or the two packages to add to that vehicle are $34,600. So the all-in price for this particular vehicle is $80,028. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Members of council, questions for Mr. Shaw?
Do you expect either of these to draw much on gov deals?
We've been getting very good numbers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Other
Low
questions?
mileage, but heavy work.
Yeah.
Other questions from members of council? If not, we have ordinance number 17, 2025 for consideration. Mr. Murphy, this is your first one. So
Hey, I'll try to get it right. Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to introduce by title only ordinance number 17, 2025, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to accept the proposal of Dave White Chevrolet for the provision of a new 2025 Chevrolet Silverado 3500 HD chassis for the Division of the Parks and Forestry, Department of Public Service, appropriating $45,428. Therefore, I move for passage of ordinance number 17, 2025 as an emergency measure.
Second. Moved and seconded to authorize ordinance number 17, 2025 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carried, and ordinance number 17, 2025 is approved as an emergency measure. Ordinance number 18, Mr. Murphy.
Okay, thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Authorizing, or excuse me, I would like to introduce by title only ordinance number 18, 2025, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to accept the proposal of Kaleida Truck Equipment for the provision of one new stainless steel dump package for the new 2025 Chevrolet Silverado 3500 HD chassis for the Division of Parks and Forestry, Department of Public Services, appropriating $34,600. Therefore, I move for passage of ordinance number 18, 2025 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 18, 2025 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carried, and ordinance number 18, 2025 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to ordinance number 19, 2025. Mr. Murphy, we're going to give you a break now. We'll refer this one to Ms. Stow. Ms. Stow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to introduce ordinance number 19-2025 and read by title only. Authorizing the mayor and director of finance to accept the proposal of Dave White Chevrolet for the provision of a new 2025 Chevrolet Silverado 2500 HD four-wheel drive truck for the Division of Parks and Forestry, Department of Public Service, $51,385. Therefore, I move for passage of ordinance number 19-2025 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 19, 2025 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance number 19, 2025 is approved as an emergency measure. Ordinance number 20, Ms. Stout.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 20-2025 and read by title only. Authorizing the mayor and director of finance to accept the proposal of Collider Truck Equipment Incorporated for the provision of one liftgate package for the new 2025 Chevrolet Silverado 2500 HD four-wheel drive for the Division of Parks and Forestry, Department of Public Service, appropriating $6,900 therefore. I move for passage of ordinance number 20-2025 as an emergency measure.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 20, 2025 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance number 20, 2025 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 8, police department equipment for taser replacements. Chief?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, when we were working on the budget this year, we did request a fund under capital improvement, new tasers for the police department. Our current tasers were purchased in 2016. Tasers generally have a 5-year life expectancy, and after that time, the company's not going to service them, so as they start breaking, we just put them in a box. You can't buy replacements. There is a newer model out, a Taser 10, that we're looking at transitioning to and purchasing enough units so that every officer in the department has their own. Part of that also extends the life of these tasers because you have one person assigned to it. They're going to take better care of it. We know where it's at. We know how it's cared for. Right now, we currently have 26, so we actually have officers sharing and spares. We have one that's down that is irreplaceable, so it's not good. This is our second generation of tasers that we're on, and we seem to be on a pattern where we're getting about 8 years out of each round of tasers, so we're doing good. And the cost for these is $160,980. That also includes training for instructors. We can have up to 5 instructors. It also includes all our training cartridges that we have to use every year to recertify the officers. So it may seem a little higher than just the equipment, but this is stuff that we're going to have built in over the 5 years that we're under warranty.
That's turnkey for 5 years.
Correct.
Questions from members of council?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Hanson.
Chief Miller, just wondering, I know you said some of the old models have started to break already, but is there any resale value to those?
No. No, the only thing we'd be able to do is offer them to maybe another department that doesn't have funding to replace theirs, and they'd be able to use them until they're no longer serviceable, but Taser doesn't want them back, and they won't even if it breaks, we can't send it in and get it repaired. So.
Because I asked this question, it's not legal to put this on Gov Deals, is that correct? Or is it?
No, I would not put it on Gov Deals, but we do have a system through the state of Ohio where we can offer it up to other law enforcement agencies. And occasionally I'll have alerts come across my desk where they're looking for body armor, they're looking for excess equipment, they're a smaller, maybe a 2, 3, 5 man department that doesn't have funding, and they just try to get whatever they can to keep their system going. So a lot of times I think part of our Taser holsters from our last group actually went to a department in eastern Ohio, and the officers were sharing one holster. So every time you'd get off duty, you'd have to take it off your belt and put another one on, so they were ecstatic to get our old holsters.
Other questions from members of council? Hearing none, we have ordinance number 21, 2025 for consideration. Mrs. West,
Before we go forward, I just want to emphasize that this is in the budget. We've thought about this. I mean, I know we're going through a lot of these things quickly. Everything we're doing tonight, we reviewed as part of the budget process.
Thank you.
Approved it.
Thank you.
Including this.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Hannon. Good point. Mrs. Westfall, ordinance number 21, 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 21-2025, and I'll read by title only, accepting the proposal of Axon Enterprise Incorporated for new tasers for the City of Sylvania Police Department, appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $160,900. $2,980. I move final passage of ordinance number 21, 2025 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 21, 2025 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much. Ordinance number 21, 2025 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on, police collective bargaining agreements.
Correct, Mr. Mayor. We got off to a little bit of a slow start this year with some scheduling problems, but and then the holidays kicked in, so we're a little later than we'd like to be. But we do have a tentative agreement with both the patrol and the command bargaining units. We were able to fix some language that was in the contracts that we needed to. One of the things is our vacation and comp time was actually mostly not in the contract. It was in our policies and procedures and had been there since 1993. So we took on the chore this year to get that remedied and put away. We've also increased our uniform allowances, recognizing that the cost of uniforms are going up for our officers, and we want them to be presentable and professional in their appearances. Part of that is it goes into like a quartermaster system where the monies are maintained by the city and it's through an account at the uniform place where they can purchase it. So we're assured that the monies are only being used for uniforms. Where in the past, we've issued them a check and they were responsible for purchasing uniforms. We did also add our lateral hires into our contracts, so those are covered, and the wages we were able to bring up to a very competitive wage now with the other area departments. It'll be a $3 an hour one-time equitable adjustment and 4% on each of the 3 years of the life of the contract. So actually, we would go from being one of the lower paid departments to now one of the top paid departments, which I would be expecting to help us with our recruitment that we'll be doing here shortly.
This, again, was in the budget, correct, Mr. Schreier?
Yes, it was.
Questions for Chief Miller on ordinance number 22? Hearing none, ordinance number 22, 2025 for consideration. Mr. McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to read by title only ordinance number 22-2025, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into a 3-year collective bargaining agreement commencing January 1st, 2025 with the Sylvania Police Command Officers Association on behalf of the sergeants. I move for passage of ordinance number 22-2025 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 22, 2025 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried, and ordinance number 22, 2025 is approved as an emergency measure. Proposed ordinance number 23,
Mr. Mayor?
2000.
Sorry to
Mr.
cut you off
Richardson.
there.
No,
I apologize.
no worries.
Just before we get too far, I want to request permission to push back from the table due to a conflict of interest.
Mr. Richardson has requested that he be allowed to push back for possible conflict of interest on ordinance number 23, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
I
Second.
have a motion and a second to approve. Mr. Richardson pushes back for ordinance number 23, 2025. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried, and Mr. Richardson is pushed back from the table. Let the record reflect that. Proposed ordinance number 23, 2025 for consideration by other council members. Mr. McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 23-2025, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into a 3-year collective bargaining agreement commencing January 1, 2025 with the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge number 129 on behalf of the patrolmen. I move for passage of ordinance number 23-2025 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 23, 2025 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much. Ordinance number 23, 2025 is approved as an emergency measure. Let the record reflect that Mr. Richardson has rejoined the table. Agenda item number 10, ordinance number 24, 2025. Ms. Browning, is this you?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an annual ordinance that we do. We've worked with the Lucas County to provide a victim's advocate in our court since 1997. And Erica Kennard is the victim's advocate that is in our court every day, and she does a phenomenal job walking victims through the process and answering any questions they have. It's $25,000 this year. It's been the same $25,000 for the last several years. So I would recommend approval because we couldn't replace her for that.
Same cost since 2008.
Oh, wow.
That's
So,
what- that's-
okay,
that's
yep,
what-
if I wrote it, that's what it.
You wrote it, Any
Time
que-
flies.
Any questions for Ms. Browning on ordinance number 24, 2025? Hearing none, Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 24-2025, and I'll read by title only, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into an agreement on behalf of the city of Sylvania between the city of Sylvania and the Board of Lucas County Commissioners for the Suburban Court Services Program, agreeing to participate in funding a portion of the local share for suburban court services, appropriating $25,000. Therefore, I move passage of ordinance number 24-2025 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 24, 2025 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance number 24, 2025 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to ordinance number, proposed ordinance 25, 2025. This is appointing Mr. Murphy to the Board of Trustees of Sajar as council member, even though he's already a member.
And is this something I should push back away
You
from?
don't have to push back on this one because you represent the council.
Okay.
I know that because I've asked that question.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Ms. Browning informed me in the past on that. Mr. McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move for passage of resolution number 25-2025, appointing Sean Murphy to the Board of Trustees of Sylvania Area Joint Recreation District, Sajar. He being a member of the council of this appointing political subdivision for the calendar year 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 25, 2025 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and resolution number 25, 2025 is approved as an emergency measure.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I just want to thank Sean for doing this job. This is a tough one of the tougher appointments we have. I appreciate,
Not so bad.
appreciate your commitment to work on it.
Agenda item number 12, committee reports. Is there any committee reports that need to come before council this evening? Hearing none, Mr. McCann, you had requested a spot on the agenda for the Principal and Employee and Community Relations Committee meeting.
Yes, I would, for the reason of appointing Sean Murphy's replacement as council's citizen representative to Sajar. How does 6:30 on March 3rd look for the committee? Marcus, Doug, Patrick,
6:30?
6:30 on
That's-
March 3rd?
We have the streets at 7 that night, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that-
Doug?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ryan here, Mr. McCann here.
Yeah. So I move for setting the meeting for the Employee and Community Relations Committee in the side room for March 3rd, 6:30.
Second. A motion and a second to set an Employee and Community Relations Committee meeting for the citizens replacement for the Sajar Board, replacing Mr. Murphy. Setting that for 6:30 in the police conference room on March 3rd, 2025. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and Ms. Bigelow, if you post that information on our website and send that notice out, that would be great. Last item on the agenda is ordinance number 26, 2025. This is a proposal from Edge Group for parking, Center Park schematic and the city administration building signage. Mr. Shaw. Is this with yours?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Apologies for dragging you back up again. That's okay. Appreciate your exercise this evening.
We have proposal on your agenda. I'm sorry, I don't have the copy with me, but $13,700 was a proposal for the Edge Group that had two pieces in it. The one we just looked at to help us with some signage on the building. The second piece of that, and the larger substantial portion of it, is to look at Rotary Park work. That's commonly referred to as River Center Park. I think that was how it was actually coined back in the day. Howard's Oil used to be at the southeast corner of Main and Monroe. It was a bigger chunk of land. All that was kind of repurposed to make room for the Wingate Hotel and some other things as a portion of how that legislation was written. The very corner section of that had to be reserved as like kind of a municipal park. It's called River Center Park in the day. Rotary had jumped in over a period of years, and they wanted to kind of have some branding at the park too. So it's kind of River Center Park, Rotary Park. Nonetheless, Mr. Sanford has been working with the Sylvania Rotary. They would like to refresh that, give it kind of an updated look. Edge is going to help us with that concept to give us some ideas on what that could potentially look like. So be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw?
So this is just for the design changes to the park?
This is actually for just schematic looks of what it could look like. I think we had asked for 3 or 4 renderings or concepts. The initial thing would be to sit down with the Rotary, kind of walk through some concepts and some ideas, and then go to the drawing board and come up with generate some ideas.
And same for the building. This is just for our purposes tonight, but will they come up with some more specific recommendations, or is this literally what they've already presented and this will be it?
They had, the idea was to try to match Courts. Courts has similar signage on it now. We'd come through a couple different ideas on how this would look, but this was kind of more of the piece for that. Also how to light it and make it look presentable at night too, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other questions from members of council?
So this will replace the signage on the building and give us concept for the park.
Yes.
And were these things in the budget as well?
Neither of these were not in the budget.
And Rotary's going to participate in this signage ultimately?
I think so. Bill, if you may want to speak more, you've had more conversations with them than I have.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, the Rotary's involvement at there's a monument that's at the current park, and it was built as a fountain. The fountain never worked very, very well, so they turned it off. So Rotary for some time wanted to have a new fountain put in, and talking with Joe with the redesign of everything downtown and having things of an upgrade. And Rotary's going to participate financially with the fountain. That's part of the plan. And the next step with them is we get these concepts from the consultant. We can give them some ideas of what it would look like, and then talk about how much they're going to be able to help finance that project. So that's going to be a component of it too.
So how permanent is our commitment to that park?
Well, and other part of this is that it's going to change in size too, of the park space, because some of the space on that we had talked about with different developers, and with the because it's adjacent to the tire store, and and that's how it's been advertised, that there's some extra space from that park. So the park's going to be redesigned and refigured and become a plaza of some sort that would be a real welcoming point as we come into our downtown, and then match what we're doing with everything with downtown.
I guess that, in the back of my head, I always thought that it could be an appropriate commercial development that we were interested in that might warrant changing the purpose of that property from a park to a possible development. We are not presently contractually limited on use of that park, right? I mean, this is just, we've just done it.
Correct.
We have the flexibility to do something else if we want to do that.
And the condition of the sale back when all that was redone, a piece of that was to be that there's nothing binding for years down the road in any of that language.
We've seen the economic study for downtown. I know that the demographics of our community have potential for some significant redevelopment over the next decade. Will we have any agreement with Rotary regarding our commitment to keep this as a park? I mean, I don't want to cheat Rotary out of what they want to get, but by the same token,
I don't think so.
We ought to address this issue. Let's do it with this. I would suggest we address the issue with Rotary so that they're not, 5 years from now, blindsided because we want to put, some fabulous restaurant development on that part, on that area, So I don't have anything in mind.
Will the designs have any other types of direction like that allows for more outdoor seating opportunities for people like we'll do through Dora or other things, so that it will be, right now, I'm not sure that it gets the kind of use we had hoped it would get. So will the new designs be structured to allow some overflow if there is a restaurant there or some kind of more friendly space for community? Is that one of the goals?
I think that will be a component when we talk to Edge and because there is interest in developing the space next door.
And something you said, Bill, made me think that maybe this is going to be, there will be consideration of whether it should be the same size or should it be a smaller footprint. Will that be something that's discussed?
Yes. Yep.
It's important to point out, Mrs. Westfall, that my recollection is Dora does not go across Monroe Street.
I was going
At
to
least
talk
not
with
as it
Leslie
sits
about that
today.
afterwards.
So while those individuals who have those adult beverages may want to cross, they're not doing it legally. I just want to get that on the record in case somebody
change
from
that
that.
pretty
Yes,
easily,
I
though, as
think-
far as I know.
I think
Pardon?
once we had a
We could change that
restaurant.
pretty
yeah.
easily if we so desire.
Yes.
We often in the past not to cross Monroe Street out of
Correct.
overabundance of caution and safety.
Understood.
Though we have not had, as far as I'm aware, maybe the chief can correct me, any major incidences that have occurred due to the Dora and crossing traffic. So that could be, because it is a public park, it could be added in the future, should we deem it to be added.
Anyway, my point is, I don't think we've, as a council, dedicated that park in the way that we've dedicated other spaces as a park. And before we did anything that would more permanently handcuff us for whatever reason, I would like to have a more careful consideration of that, I think.
And more of the history with Rotary was about 5-6 years ago. They wanted to replace the current fountain at the park.
Yeah.
That started moving down. We actually looked at some concepts with them. And then the whole idea of reconfiguring the park and tying it into this was before the downtown development was put in place, and
Right.
to do something that ties in with that. So, yeah, Rotary's, been right involved in the whole process.
Well, and I appreciate Rotary's interest in our community and their willingness to step up. I just want to make sure that we aren't inadvertently committing ourselves to a permanent arrangement that we haven't fully considered, that's all.
Mr. Sanford, has anyone ever expressed interest in that parcel or just inquired?
Yes.
Okay, good enough.
It's literally the corner of Maine and Maine.
Right.
Right, literally.
Exactly.
We just want to be purposeful in making that kind of a decision.
I think with this design, we're trying to accomplish both, to enhance the development and still have a presence of some, public space on the corner. But the possibility of using the whole corner, that's always there. But I do think we could move forward on this, but I guess that'd be your call. That's still not committing to it.
I'm not suggesting that we not. I just want to make sure that as we go into it, we go into it with eyes wide open, that we have not forever and ever declared that to be a park area.
So you want to set expectations, correct?
Right. It's not like, it's not like other parks that we have committed to.
Totally understand.
Any other questions or comments from members of council?
Mr. Mayor?
Ms. Stout?
I would be curious to see what edge design group would come up, schematic design wise for the park, and I think that could contribute to the conversation that Mr. Hanem is discussing. So from where I would support moving this forward tonight.
Just doing the downtown design, am I correct?
It is the same,
That's helpful.
have a consistency, and a tie-in.
Mr. Murphy, did you?
I guess my question was, and I didn't quite capture this, is of this money, 13,700, how much of that is going towards the sign on the building and how much of it's going towards, 1,200 goes towards the park?
It's 1,200 was for the signage effort, the balance of
That
that.
goes to the ideas for the park.
Signage didn't take a lot of time.
But that's an expensive sign, so, but
It was right justified, left justified, center justified, and which side of the building. It wasn't that significant a decision. It was a significant decision to do it for all of us.
right, yeah, I just want to make sure that it's clear on that.
Any other comments or concerns from members of council? Hearing none, Ms. Stow, if you could do ordinance number 26, 2025.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to introduce ordinance number 26-2025 and read by title only. Accepting the proposal of Edge Group to provide professional landscape architecture services for River Center Park and City Hall signage. Appropriating funds therefore in an amount not to exceed $13,700. I move for passage of ordinance number 26-2025.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 26, 2025 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried, and ordinance number 26, 2025 is approved as an emergency measure. That comes to the end of our agenda this evening. Is there any other items to come before city council this evening? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn city council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried, and we are adjourned until our next council meeting on February 18th at 7:30 p.m. in these council chambers. Thank you very much.